Hi, this is Nancy Mansell coming to you from CNM Behind the Glass. This week we're working on solving quadratic equations using factoring. And before we start, we need to talk about something called the zero products principle. The zero products principle says if A times B equals 0, then either A equals 0 or B equals 0 or both equal 0. And we can use this to solve quadratic equations. Starting with example 1 in chapter 6.5 in your book, x plus 6 times 2x minus 3 equals 0. This one's already factored for us. That won't be the case most of the time, but it's the first one, so it'll be easy. Think of this as A, think of this as B. Either A equals 0, or B equals 0, or both equal 0. Solve both of them for x. X is negative 6. Over here we'll add a 3, and divide by 2, and x equals 3/2. Okay, remember quadratic equations are always going to have two solutions, although occasionally it'll be the same solution twice. Let's try a little tougher one. This one's example 4. 3x squared minus 108 equals 0. Well, remember the first part of factoring is always to look for a GCF, and there is one. Do you see it? That's right, it's a 3. So if I take the 3 out, I'm going to have 3 times the quantity, x squared minus 36 equals 0. Okay. Next we're going to factor two terms. Both of them are perfect squares, and there's a minus sign between them. So what does that mean to us? It means it is a difference of squares. It's x plus 6 times x minus 6. Okay. So now we're going to set all the parts equal to 0. 3 equals 0. No, it doesn't. Not on this planet. Throw that away. X plus 6 equals 0. Subtract a 6. And x is negative 6. X minus 6 is 0. Add a 6. And x is 6. Okay. I have no problems with you using this symbol. That symbol right there. Most people would pronounce that plus or minus, but the truth of the matter is it's plus and minus, and it means the negative and positive values of 6, and I'm fine with you using that symbol if you wish. One more example. This is example 8. It's a word problem, and it's about a rocket. Given the function h of t equals negative 16t squared plus 128t, how long will it take before the rocket is 220 feet above the ground? Okay, t is time. H of t is height. H is height, right? So h of t is height. So I said, how long would it take to be 220 feet above the ground? So we're going to plug in 220 where we see h of t. So this is a quadratic equation, but it's not equal to 0. So what do I have to do to make it be equal to 0? Exactly, I have to subtract 220 from both sides. And I have 0 equals negative 16t plus 128t minus 220. Okay. Hopefully there's a GCF in this, because those numbers are pretty big, and it's going to be kind of tough to factor them if we're not able to find a GCF we can take out. I notice they're all even. That means that there's a 2. If I divided each of those by 2, I'd have 8, 64, and 110, and they're all still even, which means I can take out a 4. But better than just taking out a 4, I'm going to take out a negative 4. So let's do this. 0 equals negative 4 times the quantity, 4t squared minus 32t plus 55. Okay, my A and my C are still kind of big, but not impossible. We can work with those. You remember the secret shortcut method? Multiply A times C. 4 times 55 is 220. Okay. Well, 220 is a pretty big number. I'm not sure I can see that one without a little help. When the number is big, try breaking it down to primes. Once you have it broken down to primes, then you can look for ways of recombining those primes in order to find what you need. Okay, so we're looking at 220. I need two numbers that multiply to 220 but add to negative 32. Well, one thing's for sure. If you multiply two numbers and the answer is positive, and you add those same two numbers and the answer is negative, both numbers must be negative. And I'm trying to get to 32 here. So let's look. Let's see. 4 times 55. That's not going to get me to 32. How about this? I see one here. 2 times 5 is 10. And 11 times 2 is 22. And 22 plus 10 is 32. So that's my two factors. I have a 10 right here, and I have a 22. And you see how they multiply to our 220, but they add to negative 32. Very good. So let's plug and chug. 0 equals negative 4. Oops, I didn't finish our secret shortcut over here. Do you remember what we do next? We put them both over A, and we reduce the fractions. So that's going to be negative 5 halves and negative 11 halves. Okay. Then we just read from the bottom up. 2t minus 5, 2t minus 11. Okay, we still good? All right then. 0 equals negative 4. No, not on this planet. 0 equals 2t minus 5. So let's add a 5 to both sides. 5 equals 2t and divide by 2. T equals 5 halves. Okay, on this one, 2t minus 11 equals 0, add an 11. 2t equals 11 and divide by 2. And t equals 11 halves. Okay, so our question was, when will the rocket hit the ground? At what time will the rocket hit the ground? Except for that wasn't the question. It wasn't when will it hit the ground. The question was, when will the rocket be 220 feet above the ground? Let's picture what we're talking about here. Here's the ground. I'm shooting up this rocket. What goes up must come down, right? Here's 220 feet. So do you see how you can have two answers? It's quadratic. There should be two answers. On the way up, at 2.5 seconds, the rocket's at 220 feet. On the way back down, at 5.5 seconds, the rocket is again at 220 feet. And that's it. Good job.